Well, I decided to make another video. This one on the heels of what took place in Dallas, Texas yesterday with the murder of the 5 police officers and the wounding of 6 or 7 others. And today, which is the day after, now there's other police officers being shot everywhere. And I'd like to draw some comparisons to this action. It's blowback is what it is, with a whole lot of different elements. But I'd like to compare it to what happened at the Malheur Refuge with the Bundys and the Patriots. It's going to be kind of a roundabout way, so just please bear with me. You know, in the Constitution of the United States, you have what's called the Enclave Act, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, with its 18 spending privileges. You've got the 9th and 10th Amendments, which basically say the powers given, the spending powers given to the federal government are specific and enumerated, and those that are not enumerated are retained by the states and by the people respectively. Okay? So, you know, how does that apply to everything else that's been taking place as far as out west in the lands and with these ranchers and what's been transpiring there? And let's compare that to what's happening with Black Lives Matter, a different BLM, okay, and their form of redress of grievances, aka murder, compared to what the Bundys were doing and the Patriots were doing. And the Bundy Ranch in the state of Nevada and the Malheur Refuge in Oregon, okay? Everybody's heard of the San Francisco 49ers. What does the word 49ers mean? It refers to those miners during the gold rush days, which took place in 1849. And that was before California became a state. And anybody study any history at all, and you can all just Google this, that they went out there to find gold, you know, become wealthy, and they took a lot of chances, and the government wanted them to go out there. The government was pushing for this all the time. Go west, young man. Go west, young man. We will give you 160 acres to homestead. Oh, that's not enough? Oh, okay, we'll double it. That's not enough? We'll double it again. Okay, you get up like 600 acres because water was the big issue. You had to have water. So, in the United States government wanted this land out west to be occupied by American citizens, wanted it to be settled, wanted the pioneers to all come out here. Why? Because we were a brand new country, a brand new government. And one of their biggest fears, and anybody can look this up, one of their biggest fears was that a foreign government was going to come in and stake claims on this land. And as a new country, we didn't have the firepower to resist some of these bigger countries. More powerful, I should say, more powerful countries. We were still smarting over, you know, the War of Independence with the British. You still had the French to worry about. The French got in there in a few different ways. They were concerned about even Spain coming in and taking over these lands because you had some Spanish people here. Okay? So, yeah, the 49ers came out in California in 1849, staked their claims, which were prior appropriation. In other words, those claims were appropriated prior to California becoming a state. Okay? And after California became a state, those claims were recognized. Very simple. Okay? When they sent, did anybody ever see the movie with Nicole Kidman and Cruz, whatever his name is, Far, Far and Away? There you go. Hey, go get your 160 acres. It's yours. It's your land. Just stake your claim. And those will be prior appropriate. Tom Cruise. Prior appropriation. Before it's even a state. Okay? Then you have preemptive rights. First in line, first in place. Okay? It's just like if there's a big sale, Walmart's got a big sale going on, or whoever, and it's going to happen in a week. If you get there a week ahead of time, which this actually happens like on, I guess call it Black Fridays, people get in line days and days ahead. They'll get in line, And that position is theirs. And if somebody comes and tries to push them out, they can lawfully resist, which is one of the most important things you can do with preemptive rights. You got to defend that right. Okay? And now you can sell that position if you want, or you can pass it on, you can give it to your family member, but you were there first. And the only requirement of preemptive right is ranching. The only requirement was you had to do something beneficial for the land and for the people. If you didn't work the land and you didn't do anything beneficial, you lost that right. And those rights were recorded. Okay? Now, when the state of Nevada was preparing to become a state, we're known as the Battle-Born state. We got the big flag, Battle-Born, okay, state, a sovereign state. Abraham Lincoln in the State of Union address after the Civil War said we got a new state, and it's a Battle-Born state, the state of Nevada. Prior to that, Congress wanted to recognize any claims on those lands. Okay, now Congress has all power and all authority in decision-making in the disposal of those lands. The key word is disposal. They had to, by law, dispose of those lands. We have 38 states in over 200 years of precedent showing how they disposed of those lands. Okay? No argument there. There can't be any argument there unless you want to change all of history, which they do. They want to change all of history. Okay? So, this was posted throughout the territory. This is called the territory. If you have any claims on these lands, you need to put your claim in or forever relinquish all rights to those lands when it becomes a sovereign state. Is there any confusion there? Okay? All the intellectual idiots that piecemeal this information, they put it out there out of context, you know, saying the Bundys are crazy, or anybody else that believes this way are crazy. So, what you have in this territory, you had Indian treaties, you had indigenous peoples all over this territory. You actually had some Spanish claims. Okay? Then you had your prior claims of, for example, mineral claims. People, mining the land. Ranchers that came out here, cattlemen that came out here, running their cattle on the range. They made claims on certain waters and lands for the forage. So all these people that got these different vested interests went and put their claims in. And Congress recognized those claims. And when it became up to it, became a sovereign state. You couldn't come back in later. Okay? Couldn't come back in later. Now, let's go up to the Malheur Refuge. Okay, you had the same situation. You had ranchers that came in and had done the same exact thing. They made claims on these lands. They worked the lands. They tried to defend them, but you know what? The United States government and all its corruption was a little too powerful for them. So they kicked off over 130 ranchers off of this refuge. Okay? Illegally. They had claims on them. They got flooded out. That was a big one. You know, they dammed it up, just flooded them all out because they wouldn't sell. Okay? Now, latest is they're burning them out. Okay? Just burn everything up. That's what they did to Dwight Hammond. And they blamed it on a lightning strike, an initial fire. And when Dwight Hammond went and set a backfire to it, and it burned 130 acres of so-called public land, which, by the way, they owned the forage. You know, they had the forage rights and the water rights to it, so they're burning up their own grass. Okay, and then they come back and get them for arson terrorism. How insane. So, Anna Bundy goes in there, Ryan Bundy goes in there, and they approach this whole situation, and he just said, well, you know, let's do a petition for redress of grievances. Did you know a petition for redress of grievance by state laws and constitutional law must be addressed? They must be addressed. We didn't do anything. Grasky didn't do nothing. Sheriff Ford didn't do nothing. Kate Brown didn't do nothing. Totally ignored it. That is illegal. It's in the Constitution of the United States. First Amendment. Part of the First Amendment. the right to petition for redress of grievances. It's in the state of Oregon Constitution. It's in every state constitution. Okay, well that didn't work. What's next? Well, it's the Committee of Safety. The Committee of Safety is locals getting together. They identify dangerous situations and they make plans to counteract those dangerous situations. Okay? So they did that. And later on they set up a Committee of Correspondence. So here they put the petition to redress grievances together. The Committee of Safety put some stuff together because now you could go to a common law jury and you can actually issue a summons. They have 40 days to address that, and if they don't address it, you can indict them. So they're doing everything possible legal that they can do to no avail. The state of Oregon considered Dwight and Stephen Hammond expendable, and they had this whole thing going to steal their ranch. Case in point. Only $500 per transaction to run any part of the ranching business. It has to be approved by the BLM. You're not going to run a ranch like that. So it was designed to put them out of business, put them into bankruptcy, and first right of refusal to that property was the BLM. You know, the Constitution, as I just said, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, only allows for 10 square acres in Washington, D.C. and other needful things, which, you know, in the Enclave Act, it describes those things. Okay, post offices, courthouses, magazines, arsenals, ports. It doesn't say anything about a refuge. Okay? So they completely violated that. And the BLM is now in the land owning business. You know, it used to be Bureau of Land Management. Now it's Bureau of Land Owning and Selling, stealing and selling. That's what they do. Okay? So all of this they did. If they would have just walked away and just ignored it, nothing would have changed. I don't care what anybody says. Nothing was going to change. The Hammonds are going to stay in prison for 5 years, and they're going to lose their property. That's would have been the end result of it. Okay? So, Hammond and Bundy come up with a plan to really get people's attention to the plight of the Hammonds. There's this refuge there, which has been the centerpiece for all this theft going back to early 1900s. Okay? They call it a federal building. Again, feds don't own it. They can't, by Constitution. Do you know the federal government has got to show a receipt, a bill of sale? It's right there in the Enclave Act. It has to be purchased with the consent of the state legislature, and they've got to show where they purchased it. Ownership. There has to be a deed. There has to be a title to that land. They can't show a title. They can't show a deed to it. Okay? Because it was never purchased. It was outright stolen. So, okay, here we go. Let's get the attention of the American people to the plight of the Hammonds and other ranchers, and there's a whole lot more going on there. Obama signed an executive order to make a monument in the Malheur County, which is going to kick 350 to 400 ranchers off their land. So this thing isn't stopping. It's not slowing down. It's escalating. All this theft is escalating, and this government has ruined people's lives left and right. I think the plan was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It brought everything to the attention of the American people, to the embarrassment and to the shame of the BLM, of the local sheriff, Sheriff Ward, and to all the people there in that county, where 60% of them are on the government dole. You know, basically parasites. That's all it is. That's why they didn't vote Grasky out. Actually, I think it's 70%. I can't remember. You know, he should have been gone a long time ago. No. Hey, you know what? Their job is worth more than the entire country. Their job is worth more than your job, their job, and their families is worth more than your families. It is self-centeredness, It is wickedness. Okay? So, and then you have the sacrifice of little boy Finnecum that brought this all to a head, and we got the Patriots in jail. And they're fighting for their freedom. And they're on constitutional grounds. And we see the bullshit that all these federal judges are doing. They're enforcing the indefinite detention of the Patriot Act because they're all guilty and proven innocent. They've been in there like 6 months now, convicted of nothing. You realize how insidious that is? Convicted of nothing. And you got Bill Keebler being framed and set up, and that is the most ridiculous, stupid thing. It's going to all fall apart ultimately. If we even get that far, if this country even gets this far, because we're in the process of meltdown right now. And so far, the Patriots have not done any blowback against this godless, lawless influence in this country. The Bureau of Land Management, the Forestry Department, the FBI, they have done nothing. Compare that to what just happened. The Black Lives Matter, the Black Panthers, the Muslim jihadists that are involved there. Compare the two. Okay? There's a huge difference. The Patriots are taking it on the chin. They're sacrificing, those are self-sacrificing for the cause of freedom. So that we don't descend into anarchy. What's happening there in Texas right now and across this nation, the killing of these police officers is descending into anarchy. You know, when the Patriots were carrying firearms out there on the refuge, they're exercising their Second Amendment rights. They weren't pointing them at anybody. But in the minds of these federal agents, they were intimidated. Oh, we're so intimidated. You don't know what intimidation is. Now you're seeing what real intimidation is what's happening there in Texas. And everybody's like, oh, I'm so shocked. I'm so shocked. What the hell do you think was going to happen when they killed that young black man in Minnesota? That was murder. Cold-blooded, calculated murder by that police officer. That police officer who has been militarized and federalized with the entire police force, pretty much every police force across this country. What do you think is going to happen when you are performing war tactics upon the American people? Because the Patriot Act has declared the United States a war zone, a battle zone. Then they wonder what happened, why the police officers are getting killed. Because they're wearing the uniform of the enemy now because it's a battlefield. How hard is that to understand? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming those police officers because one thing I've learned about federal agents, police officers, they're compartmentalized. They're on a need-to-know basis, okay? They don't see the bigger picture. They're going out and just doing their jobs, however terrible the job is. You know, they're going to enforce the law, regardless how bad the law is, which is pure stupidity. It is ignorance, it is arrogance. And then you have blowback? Oh gee! Why? I've been preaching this for how many years now that this is what's going to happen. And it's all programmed. It's all by design. This administration and the past administration has created this atmosphere for this very purpose, and they're going to exploit it to declare martial law to try and disarm American citizens and take over the entire West and the entire United States for their own nefarious purposes, which I've outlined in past videos. They're way ahead of you people. They're 50 to 100 years ahead of you. Wake up. You got a lot of catching up to do if we're going to win this thing. Ramon Emanuel. Never let a good crisis go to waste. Now you see what he was saying? George Soros has put all this money into Black Lives Matter and the Muslim Brotherhood and this and that. And the Muslim Brotherhood is throughout this administration, throughout our government, in key positions. None of this is by accident. Anyhow, the point I wanted to make is look at the difference. Look at the difference of a peaceful assembly, doing everything legal, and taking it on the chin. You know, never hurt anybody. Lavoy Finnegan never hurt anybody. Ammon and Ryan Bunny never hurt anybody. Never intended to hurt anybody. It was a peaceful assembly, exercising their Second Amendment rights, totally constitutional, completely on constitutional grounds. And you know what? I know I'm going to get some very idiotic comments on this because these trolls are out there. They're intellectual idiots. You know, the Constitution is written for an 8th grade education, and so many people out there don't have an 8th grade education. It's written in the English language. It says what it says. It doesn't need interpretation by intellectual idiots. I made a really good point here not too long ago about the Utah State Constitution. It says when this Constitution is accepted, all buildings, property owned by the U.S. government now becomes the property of the state of Utah. That's everything. Do you really think the federal government would have adopted that state constitution if that wasn't the law of the Constitution of the United States? Hell no. Hell no. I've really gotten tired of talking to these intellectual idiots and their stupid comments. Oh, you know, it's ridiculous. They're not even as smart as an 8th grader. Okay, I think I made my point. I need to get this up as fast as possible while the information's still hot. Thank you. Thank you so much.